Yeah, no, so far so good. Really been pleased with our early October practices. These are kind of the dog days, so to speak, when we've been going since June, and you're getting closer to games, so it's that fine line between you can see the finish line, but you still got a lot of work to do. Overall health's pretty good. TC ended up having just a minor foot surgery last week. He'll probably be looking at maybe a December return, but outside of that, all guys are good, and again, have had some really good practices, and looking forward to continue this week.
So that's Tyler Cochran, DC.
Yeah, yeah.
When he joined the program was later, obviously. Can you talk about just what he picked up in that short amount of time and
Yeah.
what you'll miss with him out there?
Yeah, I think obviously he was all-league player, defensive player of the year, so just his understanding of the game is really high. Great feel, great IQ. Just as an older guy, came from a really good program, so brings a lot of just winning intangibles. He's got a good voice, but thankfully we've got some pretty good depth, especially at the guard spot. And so we're not going to rush him back. Make sure that he's back 100%. But still expect when he's here in practice to still have that voice and still have that leadership and kind of that veteran leadership mentality that he has every day.
How frustrating is it? I mean, it seems like year after year you're dealing with some sort of injury preseason.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. Probably better now than later, where he's really getting into the meat of the Big Ten season. So more for him. He's been playing well. Had really got his body into good shape. It was just something that, again, it kind of been bothering for a while. I thought he could play through it, and so it's just a little minor setback for him, and we'll be anxious to get him back.
When you look at that position, he's probably your deepest. Who are some guys that can benefit? I know probably Isaac as a freshman who's going to contribute anyway, but he could help you in the backcourt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if there was going to be a position we took a hit, definitely the perimeter spot as far as just numbers go. But that is the good thing. It's unfortunate, but it gives another guy an opportunity. So whether that's, Isaac, whether that's KB, whether that's, whoever, one of the older guys, that's the beauty of having some depth now is, hopefully somebody will step up and take the most of it. I think, this year it was with new guys just understanding the urgency at this league, at this level that you have to have every day. And I think that's the thing we've really been trying to hammer home to guys is that when you do make the jump from whatever level up, especially when you're going up to this league and this conference, you have to have a different mentality to you. You got to have a different will, a different want to, and the urgency every day has got to be there. And so that was kind of really it, just making sure they understood that through just various ways, not only just in practice, but just in every day, whether it's getting up early and having to battle through an entire day, doing it back-to-back. But that's going to be a continued message. It's just the understanding of it's going to be harder than you probably think, and I'd rather have them hit kind of that mental block or adversity now than, come December, January. Guys done a pretty good job. Maybe Frank, just from the standpoint of he probably had a little bit farther to go than some other guys. Brennan's pretty well-conditioned athlete, so it's impressive to see him go. I think Dawson, obviously is almost like a machine. You got to tell him to slow down. So, his agility and conditioning and his off-season was really good, so he's looked really good, really in shape. And like I said, for the most part, I think our guys have all taken to it and they've kind of taken some pride in it. And we're in a lot better shape than I think we were the previous years. Some of that is just due to older guys just again understand the urgency and be able to compete more.
Ben, how ready is a guy like Isaac to be a major contributor right away? Because you see a guy like Quinn Parrish on the football field and what he's doing. Can you get that type of impact from Isaac?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, him and Grayson both have, they're competitors, and so they've kind of risen to the level, and they are the first group that's actually been able to kind of learn under some guys, so to speak, where we haven't had that in the past. And I think what you see with that is when they're pushed by older guys, again, your competitive nature takes over and you rise up to the level. And instead of you being the bar and setting the bar and being the standard, like you're looking up to other guys that have done it to be that. And so they've pushed him every day, and his growth has really, really gone through the roof since June. Same with Grayson. But they wouldn't be at the level they were. I wouldn't be as comfortable if I didn't know that they were going against some older guys every day in practice. I mean, it's a luxury when you could go against 22 and 23-year-olds every day for both those guys and get beat up a little bit and kind of get pushed to it. So and I'm really comfortable with where they're at. I know there's a lot more to go. They both are big pieces of what we're going to do, and I'm just really, really pleased with just kind of how they've developed and how they've kind of fit in our team.
Landscape now with roster turnover for almost everybody. You mentioned the old guys. How important is that part of it too, to have a few leftovers who've been around the block to bring a mixture together?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, especially because they've been through it and they know what it takes. They know what it looks like. They know what the habits got to be. They know how I am. So those guys, we have to be able to lean on them to kind of show the ropes and be that standard and push guys because it is a grind. And again, I think, we got an older, experienced group, but we still have a lot of guys that haven't been at this level. And again, that's not to overlook anything, but from day one, even in our exhibition game, that mind frame's got to be working towards just a Big Ten conference type mind frame. And I think you can really benefit from that if you can flip your mindset. And that's 1 through 15 in our roster. So having those older guys, the leadership, the voice, really explaining kind of to all the team what it is, I think is extremely helpful.
How much of, in your mind, do you know how you want to play, and how much is it you have to learn what you have here a little bit to decide for sure how you want to play?
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea. I think within the framework of how I want to play, you always are tweaking stuff. And I think we've kind of explored that the last month. Is like, okay, we like what we're doing. Are there areas we can tweak, to put guys in the best position to be successful? And at the end of the day, the best position for our team to win. And so, again, it's an ongoing process. I think most teams, you probably don't get till late January, early February before you really feel like you got a handle on your team. But we're definitely in a good place. Like, I feel pretty comfortable with, okay, stylistically how it's going to look, and then, we can tweak some things here and there. And our guys have really grown. Again, it's helped to have the whole team mostly healthy since June, so you're not having to, reteach stuff or hold anything back. You're able to get it to them kind of full skeleton. And so now we're just, grinding out those details.
What do you think your team's identity will be?
That's a great question. Still work in progress on that. I think the one thing that I've expressed is we've got to be a mature team. I think that's one of our advantages is our experience. You just look at the number of guys that have played over 100 games, the number of guys that have come from good programs that have been taught and coached. We have to be a smart IQ, mature team, and a team that I think can, hopefully be mentally tough, whether that's at home or on the road, can battle through things. I think there's a lot that is, and that comes with being old. And it's like, how do we use that to our advantage? So I think that's one thing. And then I think, again, we're just such a work in progress. It's hard to say. I probably won't. Even the exhibition games, it's so vanilla that you don't get a feel. You probably won't even really know till you're getting mid-December, kind of that as identity and what can help us win games consistently. But I do know that the age factor, we've got to be able to use that.
Why do you think then, I get it, we're media jackals, but preseason media poll has you guys finishing 18th?
I think some of it, I'll be honest, I have no idea how you can project even who's going to be one. With so much turnaround, I don't know if they don't know who the guys that we took, they did, it was the same thing last year, and I think, with about 2.5 weeks left, we're in the thick of the Big Ten and, almost finished 500. So that's, I think with the portal and just with the whole landscape, it's impossible. Even, people have asked me what I think about teams in the league, and I have no idea. because you don't know. You see numbers, of what guys bring to the table. Even for my team, I have no idea. I see numbers. I see like what they did at the other place, but I have no idea if this is, going to work, or if it translates, or at what level it translates. If somebody's going to be able to rise up and be better than their numbers. It's just a guessing game. And so, I think you just got to let it play out. But we know as a team that's the last thing we're concerned with. I think most guys would rather be on that list at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year.
Ben, what aspect of your roster are you most excited about?
Probably, just the overall depth. Like I said, we haven't had that yet, and it's just you just never know what's going to happen through the course of the year. You never know, who you're going to need to call on in certain games. You never know. Again, somebody's going to play better than expectations. It always happens. But to be able to have like depth and to go to, whether it's your starters or guys off the bench, and not feel like you're trying to mask stuff, whether it's offensively or defensively. Not worried about, okay, if we can stay healthy the ground of the season, like we can hopefully battle that. That's a good feeling. And now it's, trying to figure out how do you use that to your advantage. Like what are the matchups? What are the combinations that work best? Again, I haven't really had that, that thought or that problem yet. And this would be the first time where it's like, okay, we need to really figure out, what combinations go good. What lineups are good. Is it a big lineup? Is it a small lineup? Who's in those lineups? Who is coming off the bench? And I think those are good problems to have.
Comes to Patterson, what was the recruiting process like for him?
I think, he's one of those local guys that I know really value being here, which was a luxury to have. So there wasn't, once, we really locked in on, okay, this is a guy we need to check out. It wasn't a crazy sell, and I think just, the relationship I have with his family, there was there was comfortability there, there was trust there, and I think, again, if you look at his career, I've watched him, since he was a baby, but you look at his career, he just got better every single level he's been at. And I think a lot of people questioned or doubted when he went to Missouri State. And, he grinded through that and found a way to be productive. And then he goes to Charlotte, and, nobody really knew. He grinded through that and became really productive. And so that's hopefully the next step is, at this level, even though it's a step up, like you're still the same guy, and you've proved at every level, and you've overcame, and you've probably outperformed to outside expectations. I think he's a really confident kid that believes in himself. I know he's really excited to be here and for this opportunity. And so, he's kind of a breath of fresh air in terms of just a guy that he rolls up his sleeves. Not a lot of nonsense to him. Comes to work every day. Loves to be coached. And it comes from being a coach's kid. But he wants to be good. He wants to learn. He wants to improve. So all that stuff is exciting, especially from a guy who's going to be one of your lead guards.
You mentioned to not put too much stock in these two exhibition games. So what do you hope to actually get out of those in terms of playing against somebody else?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just that, being able to compete against a different set of bodies. I think, I'm definitely going self mode on this one. I'm gonna tell the guys like it's because I got to figure some stuff out. So lineups could be funky, minutes could be funky. Obviously what we run is going to be pretty basic and vanilla. But for me, it's more about just the little things, like who is going to compete, who's going to do some of the detailed stuff that we've been talking about since June. But I need to figure out, and I want to get guys, just used to playing here. I think that was one thing I looked at with kind of those exhibition games. Like, I want guys to play here. I don't want the first time they play here to be in our game, or the second time to be in our first real game, especially some of the local guys like Lukai getting a chance to play here early in front of fans and family, so that stuff's out the way come game one. But again, it's figuring out rotations. Like, I know what Parker, Dawson, and Mike are going to do. Like, I don't necessarily need to see them in these first couple games, like extended minutes. Like, I don't know what Brennan's going to do. I don't know what Lukai is going to do. I don't know what Trey. I don't know what Frank. I can go on down the line just because I haven't coached them in environment. Like you have an idea, but until you really coach them, it's in a game environment. It's hard to know. So that's really what I'm going to use it for, is to get some of those guys game experience. To hopefully get the young guys meaningful minutes. Get their feet wet. KB, a guy that's been chomping at the bit to play. Like I want to see him out there playing. And so I'm going to use it for that. And again, I think that will kind of help me a little bit figure out going forward, especially as we approach the first game, just, who can do what. But then again, more so just giving those guys some experience early.
Might be a better question as we get closer to Big Ten season, but with the expansion now, in years past, you've played most teams twice, and sometimes within a week or two. You may have a stretch of 14 straight games where it's a one-off against.
Yeah.
Does that change approach or workload or stress level?
No, I haven't even thought about it. I haven't. I'm not going to think about that till December. But it is different. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of new different things this year, but everybody's going through it. So it's not just us. It ain't changing. It is what it is, and you just got to find a way to prep as best you can and get guys ready. But it is going to be a little different when it is a bunch of one-offs, just from the scouting standpoint. It's going to be interesting to see, especially with some of the West Coast teams, is when do you get them on your schedule? Is it after they were home? It was after they traveled? What time is the game here? As far as just their body clock, our body clock, you're trying to figure all that out. But at the end of the day, it's basketball, and we got to do and control what we can control, and that's coaching these guys and just giving them and putting them in the best position to be successful.
With Frank, I think you mentioned a few times about wanting to see stuff off the court. What are you looking for him physically to be ready to play?
Yeah, I think the challenge for him, because he wanted it, was just like, could you be in the best shape you've ever physically been? And I think he's really taken that personal in a good way. He's really challenged himself. And then the other challenge was, all right, the guy that you were at Canisius, production-wise, not necessarily numbers, but just what you were able to do, can you do that at this stage, at this level? And I know one of his goals is, he wants to be known as an elite rebounder. I talked about, I coached Jordan Murphy, a guy that wasn't 6'8", 6'10", but still was able to get some stuff done. And then just the mental approach for him, again, like everybody, it's like, it's one thing to play Syracuse one time. It's another thing to do 20 of them. And so just preparing him for that, and that there's going to be ups and downs. You got to be mentally tough. And that's that off the court piece of just like maturing as you get older, maturing with your outlook and just your perspective and your mental capacity, like any player. I think his best basketball is obviously ahead of him because he is older. But he's taken to the workload. He's got a great attitude. His body has definitely changed. And I think he's confident with that. You can see it. And so again, now I think he's a guy that to get going early, to get all the, whatever it's nervousness, anxiety, just to get him competing early here in front of people, I think will be a huge team. And that will help our team. Again, the more we can get, those guys that are new in a game situation, and under me, I think that's the other thing too. It's different. Like when you've had different coaches, like their personalities, to get them to understand like my demands are different than where he was. So getting all those game experiences and teachable moments, I think, is really big. Thank you.